What's up, Stitt-Heads? Crack that beer, dude. We are back in it, and this is going to be the final episode of 2025. We've made it through another shit show or Stitch show of a year, and boy, has it been a weird one. And I want to thank everybody first of all. It's like, we just had Christmas, and then we got New Year's coming up, and all this New Year, new me bullshit. Nope, New Year, same me. Fuck it. We're gonna keep talking shit, talking Stitt, having some fun with it. And man, do I have a banger of a episode getting ready to start right this second with the one and only Charlie Robinson from MacroAggressions. Thank you for coming on the show, dude. How you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. I'm shot out of a cannon today. So let's go, baby.
Nice, man. Well, dude, where do we start? Tell us a little bit about you, your thoughts on life, and then we can talk about some crazy shit going on in the world.
Man, I had no intention of being aware of any of this stuff. I was minding my own business, living my normal life. And then those bastards went and pulled 9/11. And about 2 years after that, they started saying, we have to go into Iraq because of 9/11. And I was like, I'm not really paying super close attention to geopolitics, but I'm pretty sure going into Iraq has nothing to do with what happened on 9/11. Why are you guys trying to make this case? Why are you trying to convince us that we need to start this other war? That's what really started me down this path. And I'm just asking questions about the war du jour that they're trying to convince us that we need to participate in. And it starts you down like, well, if this is a lie, and it is, then what else is a lie? And I was watching 9/11 2 years ago, and that seemed kind of fishy too. And they used that as the justification for this. And I know that there is no connection there. And so if this is a lie, is everything else a lie? And you start asking questions about it. But again, I get distracted with my life, and I'm working, and I'm living in Las Vegas, and I'm working in real estate, and it's 2007, and I'm like in the middle of like the hottest real estate market in the second hottest real estate market in the world, behind only Dubai.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like no reason for this party to stop, except that somebody gave me John Perkins' book, Confessions of an Economic Hitman, right before I was heading out on a vacation. And I read that book, and it changed my life. And I had a light bulb moment, like, wait a second. Because while this is happening in my own personal life, we're in the middle of this crazy hot real estate boom in Las Vegas. I'm working in new home sales. I had people coming into my office trying to buy $400,000 house, and I would ask them to fill out the application, their credit, whatever, like name, social security, we'll run it. I'll fax it because I'm old. I'll fax it over
Mm-hmm.
to my loan officer, and he'll run it through, and he'll say yes or no. And we're getting people approved for loans that make $10 an hour. Like this one
Mm-hmm.
guy I remember in particular, $405,000 house, made $10 an hour as a landscaper. It's totally hard time proving any of this. And I like nailed it. I like faxed it over and like braced for impact, waiting for the guy to go, get this poor bastard out of my office. They gave him a loan. And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, this is going to end badly for this guy. And so I'm seeing this in my own life, and I read John Perkins' book, and what I saw was that they're doing in my situation, the bank is loaning money to this guy to buy this house. He's going to fall behind on it. The bank is going to take back this tangible asset.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to create fake money out of thin air on their computer, loan it into existence, and get a house out of it. And John Perkins is doing the same thing in the 60s and 70s when he worked for this company called Maine, which is like the equivalent of Halliburton, a multinational engineering firm. And he's going around to all these countries, not the guy making $10 an hour, but the presidents of the countries. He's going, you got the nice landscape and topography here. We can put a hydroelectric power plant here, generate all this electricity. It'll pay for itself in 15 years. I got the World Bank and IMF will loan you the money. And they're like, wow, that sounds great. But then they fall behind in their payments because they were going to, because it was a predatory loan. And then next thing you know, like loan sharks, Perkins shows up with his IMF and World Bank guys, and they go, hey, you owe us a lot of money, but we think we can work out a deal. You privatize your fishing industry and sell it to our buddies at Goldman Sachs, or you let us build a U.S. military base here, or you whatever vote our way in a UN resolution. So I'm going, oh, wait a sec. So the same banking scam that I'm experiencing on like the small end is being done on a large end, not just to dupe unsuspecting fruit pickers that make $10 an hour into buying houses they can't afford, but to enslave actual entire countries. And I and right about the time that I was piecing this all together, the real estate market turned. I couldn't see it. I was in it and I couldn't see it. And it was really,
The eye of
frankly,
the storm,
embarrassing.
dude. Yeah, you're right in the middle of it, but it's
Yeah.
hard to
And
see that. Like you can recognize the shadiness going on, but the full aspect of where it's going. Yeah.
it's important to go through that too, because I have to remember the lies I told myself during that, or not even really lies, but just the justification. Hey, I came from California. It's half the price of California. There's no state income tax, great weather. Everybody loves Vegas. They're all coming from here, just like I did. Sure, the bubble is crazy, but it'll fizzle out. It'll just kind of plateau, and maybe it's not, maybe certainly not gonna crash. Yeah, we went up 43% in 2004, and that's
Mm-hmm.
completely unsustainable, but this time it'll be different because of X, Y, and Z. The things I have to tell my customers are the things I'm telling myself. And it's the reason why I'm buying a house for myself and an investment house, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. And so I can see how people get trapped in this because I did it while I was working in it, and you'd think I would understand the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I,
Dude, it's 2008 is when the bubble burst, right? Basically,
right.
because I graduated in 2008, so I was born in 89.
Okay.
So that whole housing crisis, a lot of people kind of forget about that if you're not early mid 30s or older now at this
Right.
point. It's kind of old news,
It's your
but it was
parents' problem. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
it
It
was
wasn't
still a
if it was
massive
even the
thing.
problem.
Yeah, it was a massive thing, but I remember friends of mine that were like a few years older than me that were already graduate because I was a long hair stoner musician. I always hung out with older people anyways.
Mhm.
And I had friends of mine that like had less of a job than I did and they were getting approved for houses. And I'm like, how the hell did you get approved for a house? I'm like, it wasn't even a thought in my head. And then, like you said, the whole thing just exploded. But when you look at it as not just a greedy scheme to see more of this like global side of it, you're like, oh, that's the micro to the macro, like your show.
I and at this point, I knew 9/11 wasn't what it appeared, and I had serious questions about our American empire. And I thought that was the most dangerous component of what America has to offer. But what really is the banking system.
Mm.
And I had no understanding of that. I really, you're not taught it in school. Even when I went to college and I majored in business, you'd think you'd understand banking. You don't. You don't understand it. I got into real estate and I wasn't technically doing mortgages, but because I was a new home salesperson, I had our in-house lender. We're always talking about where the deal is in the process and how far things are and what the underwriter's doing. So you learn a bit by osmosis, but but you don't really know how money works. And it wasn't
Mhm.
until after this where I had to lose both of the houses and watch everything. It was like I said, okay, like I confess I misread this. And I think it's because I just don't know enough. I don't know how money really works. And I felt like a sucker playing three card Monty. But like if you've been ripped off in a game like that, you got to take it. But then you're like, all right, well, tell me how it works. I want to know how. I don't never want to fall into this trap again. Like, show me how you've got these three cards, and what's the ball doing? Oh, now I get it, right? So once you know, then you know. And so for me, I was like, all right, fine. I lost in this scam. I lost in the .com bubble. Clearly, I am the sucker at the poker table who doesn't understand the game is rigged. I'm playing three card Monty over and over again like an idiot. I don't want to do this. This is a bad feeling. How do I get myself educated about that? And so to me, the way I kind of got into all of this was I just didn't want to feel stupid again. I wanted to understand it so that I could see, oh yeah, now I get what's going on with the Federal Reserve and what it is and frankly what it isn't, and
Yeah,
why
not so
that
federal and no
matters.
reserves, but yeah, continue.
Exactly, right. And so y- so I got into this to not be a sucker anymore.
Won't get
And in
fooled again.
doing
Yeah.
so, and in doing that, I wound up just really kind of interested in a variety of these topics, money and the politics and the acts, the way control structures are set up, and and one day I just had a conversation with my mom back in 2015, and I was describing some brand new conspiracy I had discovered, and she was like, "This is really interesting. It's like it's genuinely fascinating stuff. Uh, but what are you gonna do with it? Like, I get that you're into it, and then it
Hmm.
is interesting, but what's the point?"
I know what you're saying.
Like,
Yeah.
and I was like, I don't know. And I was like, I don't know, man. Like, do I have a role in this? What if okay, so then I was like, what if I do have a role in this? What if like I have to make a role in this? I started thinking that I could explain some of this stuff in a way that made sense. And so I was
Mhm.
like, I don't think I can do that with film, though. Like, I don't have the technical background to like, I'm going to do film. But I thought I could write. I was pretty sure I could write. And so I started writing a book in 2016, and I didn't tell anybody I was writing it. About halfway through, I still didn't tell anyone I was writing it, but my reasons for being quiet about it kind of changed. At the first half of the time I was writing it, I was like, I'm not sure if I'm going to finish this or not. Like I don't know. I didn't want to set that expectation with a bunch of my friends and say, "Hey, guess what, guys? I'm writing a book," and then have them ask me about it every time. Every time they see
Yeah.
me, and I go, "I never finished it." So I just didn't say anything. I don't know.
That's the
It's
best way
just
to
an
do it. Yeah.
idea I have. I think I want to write a book, but I'm not sure, so I'm just going to keep it to myself, write it, and if I feel like I'm on it, then I'll keep going. I knew pretty early on I was onto something. But then what was interesting about it was that I still kept it quiet, but my reasoning changed. It went from I don't want to tell anyone because I might not finish it to I don't want somebody to stop me. Meaning I don't
Yeah.
want my wife. I don't want somebody who's going to I don't want somebody who's going to come in here with that logic and reason and piss on my parade
Yeah.
because I'm about to write a book without a publisher, without an audience. I've never written a book before. I don't have a technical background. I mean, I have nothing, there is nothing about this book that is going to make anybody feel good that this is going to be a success. Okay.
But it's
So
a passion project. You feel it. Yeah.
totally. So I kept it quiet. What happened, for those who are married and maybe don't do it
Married
the
and three
way,
kids, dude. Yeah.
maybe the way I did it. So I leave to go to the grocery store one day, and this big box arrives when I'm not there. My wife goes, "This is interesting." Opens it up, and there's 50 copies of this same book, and she flips it over, and my face is on the back of it. She was not thrilled with that. I was emotionally cheating on her for something like that. But you see, the
Oh.
thing is that like I just I I knew I didn't have any reasonable sales pitch for this book, except that I felt compelled to write it. And I knew that once it was done, I'm gonna I'll promote it. I'll talk to people. So anyway, in August of 2017, The Octopus of Global Control came out. I put that out. I started talking about it. I immediately got put on Coast to Coast, which was great.
Hmm.
And so my third interview I ever did was 3 hour all night midnight live coast to coast
That's
with
awesome and nerve
like a
wracking at the same
million
time.
people listening.
Yeah, that's
I
awesome.
mean, don't shit the bed on that one. So, so I instantly things changed. The people started buying the books. People started reading the books. They started asking me to come on their shows and things. So it turned into something. But the path there was no reason to think that there was no book deal. There was no like, hey man, I'll help you promote it, and or there's none of that. It's just one of those things where it's like if you feel that you have something that you need to do and you feel strongly about it, it's like intuition, higher self, whatever you want to call it. There's something that sees a much different picture than you see, and you
Yeah.
kind of have to go with it. You sort of have to go with the flow on that
And
stuff. And
even if it goes
I'm
nowhere,
learning.
even if it goes nowhere, you're still feeling it. You still like,
Yeah.
like it's like, some people make a podcast and fizzle out in a month and some stick around for 10 years and whatever. And it's like, even if the numbers aren't exactly what you want, it's still the fact that like you enjoy doing it. Like, you
Yeah.
feel like you're doing something, even if, ultimately people listen or they don't listen, is what I'm kind of saying. It's
Yeah.
like it still feels good to you to get it out. And that's awesome, man. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know if I could write a book. I just talk shit on a microphone.
Ignorance is bliss when it comes to that. I mean, I'm glad I didn't know how much work went into it, because once you get into it, you're like, oh Lord, this is a lot. But you get past the point of no return. It's like, well, it's just
Uh-huh.
easier for me to finish it than it is to stop right now, because I'm almost there. And then I went around promoting the book, and that was the end of it. To me, as far as I was concerned, it's like I had no business plan. There's no grand plan for this. But in the process of going out and talking about it on people's shows, I went on a show called the Anarchast with Jeff Berwick. And I'd been watching Jeff for years and loved his stuff, and kind of connected with his Canadian sarcasm, shittiness. I appreciated it. I always kind of felt like I liked Jeff, even though I didn't know him. Um, and then we got done recording the interview, and we were still talking, and he's like, dude, do you want to write a book together? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. I should probably ask my wife this time around, and I did. But he said, it's all coming down. And I was like, what do you mean, man? Like, he's like, well, like banking system. I was like, oh yeah, yeah, that's what you're talking about. Like, he kind of caught me off guard. He says, well, what I'll do is I'll send you some ideas for this book that I was thinking about, and you let me know what you think. And I was like, okay, cool. I'd like to write a book with Jeff. He's just a fascinating guy. But I couldn't get it out of my head about him saying it's all coming down. And I was thinking like a controlled demolition.
Mm-hmm.
And he sent me some notes, and they were good. But I said, I said, what about this? And that turned into, it turned into this book, Controlled Demolition of the American Empire. Uh, I said, we could make a comparison between the way you take down an actual building. I lived in Vegas for 10 years. I watched how they'd take down
Yeah.
casinos, those old casinos that rig them with detonators and fireworks and make a big show out of it. But there's a method to it. You identify the support columns, you pre-weaken the building,
Mm-hmm.
you rig the detonators, you sound the alarm, you push down the plunger, you clear out the debris. There's a process to this.
Same
And
as
there's
cut down a tree. You prep for it. You don't just willy-nilly just knock it the fuck down or whatever. Yeah. But continue.
well, the first time you try it that way, you learn pretty quickly that
It
you
falls
have
on
to.
your car and you go, oh shit, maybe you
You
do it the other way
exactly
next
right.
time. Yeah.
That's what you learn. So I said, what if we made the comparison to how you take down an actual building? Pre-weakening the support columns was one I thought was really kind of impactful, like the idea of NAFTA, National or North American Free Trade Agreement,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
where you basically outsource, gut the American manufacturing capacity and send it to in
Uh-huh.
this case it was Mexico. It wound up being China, but
Dude, my dad
if
worked
you,
for Boeing for years, and sorry to cut you off, just real fast
yep.
thing, but yeah, exactly. He was worried about his job being cut all the time because they were shipping them all overseas into Mexico, China, wherever. But
Yep.
yeah, continue. Yeah, I
That
remember that.
that was intentional. That was part of like lighting a 30-year fuse on the American economy, where
Hmm.
you just take out the entire manufacturing class, a geographic region like the Rust Belt area had made 50,000 industrial uh, buildings left, closed up after that. So that just hollows out America. So some of this stuff is not necessarily the explosions that take down the building, but it's the pre-weakening that you do in advance of it that softens you up ideologically, softens you up, like get people to believe that men can get pregnant or that there's 100 different genders and things like that. You morally weaken the inside of so we made that comparison of how you would take down a building with how you would take down the American empire, and not for nothing, but there's components of the American empire that need to go away. There's
Absolutely.
disgusting
Yeah,
components of it that need, and so what we also were very careful to say, like, much in the same way that the Soviet Union disintegrated, leaving Mother Russia, we envision a similar, the American empire falls away, leaving Mother America,
for
right?
sure.
With its, and so the 1,000 military bases and the dollar is the world's reserve currency, and our ability to just thumb our nose at international regulation. A lot of that stuff goes away when the empire goes away, but and
Please.
and
Yeah.
needs to go away, and it's not the
Yes.
worst thing. But so we were talking about that, and that's a book that came out in 2020.
And
So
then the world went to shit in 2020, and what great timing for that.
I mean,
It's like the irony you're talking about weakening the structure and everything beforehand. And what part of the year did that come out, that book? Like, when did you have it finished versus
November.
like,
It came out on the Friday before Selection Day 2020, when Joe
uh-huh.
Biden was installed.
Yeah.
It came out on that Friday. It became a #1 bestseller in the US and Australia on Selection Day, on
I
that
was just
Tuesday.
asking, like, though, were you writing that book pre-COVID, like
We were writing it
pre-lockdown, all the above? Yeah.
so we were writing it pre-COVID. And every year, Jeff does this event called Anarchapulco. It's
Uh-huh.
the Anarchy Acapulco, Anarchapulco. Put it together. It's a 5-day event in Acapulco, and it's a great conference. And so and it happens in February. And I was like, we got to get the book out in February of 2020. Think of how bad that timing would have been if we had done that.
Whoa.
And I got all my stuff done. Jeff wasn't done with his. It was just sort of an internal deadline that I'd given myself. We didn't have any deadlines, but
Mm-hmm.
I just thought it'd be great to launch it at your event. We could say, hey, here's the new book, and it makes sense. Just didn't time out that way. And luckily it didn't, because 3 weeks after that we've got COVID. And then I was like, hey man, we should probably hang tight on the book and just watch for a little bit.
Good
And
idea.
so we did. We waited until about August of 2020. And I said, I sent him a message and that just said, I've seen enough. How about you? And he said, yeah,
Green
I've seen
light
enough
go.
too.
Green light go,
Let's
dude.
finish it.
Shit's hitting the fan.
So then I had more to write at that point. And of course he had more. And then we just put it together.
Nice.
Had Ron Paul agree to write the foreword to it. We were
That is
very excited.
amazing. That's
2 days
amazing.
later, he had his medical incident and we were like, oh,
Yeah.
like he
You
had
talking
like
about
a
the one
partial.
on his show? Yeah, where he
Yeah.
had
And
the stroke. Yeah.
yeah, Jeff messaged me and he's like, we got to let him off the hook. I was like, yeah. So we did. Of course, we're very grateful. I mean,
Absolutely,
it's a
dude.
victory that he just even said yes. I mean, to me, that's still amazing. But we had the great Doug Casey from
Hmm.
International Man, the guy who told Jeff in 2002, aren't you? They took him out to dinner one night. Doug Casey's like this super. He's the actual most interesting man in the world.
Nice.
Doug Casey took Jeff out one night and said, "You know what you are, Jeff? You're an anarchist." Jeff's like, "What does that mean?" So he sort of started him down that road. So we had Doug Casey write the foreword to the book, and it's just one of those things where we got done writing it, and I said, Jeff, like, I don't feel. I mean, I'm glad we're done with this book, but I've never wanted to be wrong about something more in my life. Like it would like
That's what
to be
sucks.
right.
Yes.
To be right about this is to be right about something really bad coming
Hmm.
our way, and so I felt always a bit measured in talking about what I thought what we see coming down in the future, down the road, and why we see it, but also not trying to say that we want it in any way. Like
We
I
hope it
don't,
doesn't happen. Yeah.
I did. I'm not going to, if I'm right about this, I promise I'm not going to be dunking on anybody.
Yeah. We're not
This is,
celebrating if we're right. We're like, oh shit, we were
no,
right. That's not a good right.
no,
Yeah.
no. I want to be, but again, we sort of wrapped up the book, and I guess it's an appropriate time to talk about it since yesterday was the 21st anniversary of it. But we wrapped up the book, the Controlled Demolition book, talking about December 26th, 2004, Banda Aceh, Indonesia. Um, where the people who lived there woke up and went down to the beach, to the ocean, as they always did, and there was just no water there. It was all
Mm.
gone, and they could you could walk half a mile out into the where the ocean used to be, and there's just nothing. And it's very unusual and very interesting, and you can get mesmerized by that if you don't know what it means. And the animals and the people who had lived there a long time, of course, knew that water goes out, but it's coming back, and it's coming back in with a lot of force. And we sort of wrapped up the book by saying, if you're down on the beach at that moment and you knew what was coming, you have to prioritize. You can grab the people next to you and say, I don't have time to explain this, but you got to get to high ground with me. When we get there, I'll fill you in. But this is not the time to argue. I'm not here to debate. I'm not ready to take a selfie with the starfish because the water's, I don't want to do any of it.
Yeah.
We got to go. And if you see what you see, it's your duty and obligation to tell people to get to higher ground while you're on your way there, yourself. And so I have gone through, I think, the cycle of conspiracy knowledge. And I don't mean that to sound like I know it all. I mean, but I mean where you come into the information and you're very enthusiastic about it and you want to tell everybody, and you sound like a newly converted religious person who's like,
And
"Let me
they
tell you
don't
about our Lord."
care. Yes.
They don't care.
They
They don't
don't
like
care.
it. They don't
Yeah.
want it. It's not a conversation. It's a monologue, not a dialogue, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And, and I've gotten to the point now where I'm like, I'm not volunteering the information. If you want it, if I'm at the cocktail party, what do you, I'm not going to be. I'm
Yeah,
not going to
yeah.
say, "Let me tell you about the New World Order. Have a seat." It's not happening. I'm not doing that. And so I've. But in the writing of the book, we kind of talk about how you're at that point where you realize there's not a lot of time left to get to high ground. And so anybody that you can reach who's within earshot, you're willing to spread the message.
Hmm.
Anybody that wants to debate with me or argue or say, well, when is it? What day is it? Or when is this going to happen? Or which bank is it that's going to go? It's like, I don't know the details. I don't have a crystal ball. I just
Hmm.
know the setup for something catastrophic when I see it.
You
And I
you
know
just
how
took
it'll.
my three favorite words in the English language is I don't know, because I'll have friends of mine, they're like, Derek, you're the conspiracy guy. And they'll do this in this like facetious, like smart assy way where they're like, oh, you know everything, don't you? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know shit. I know this is a red flag. This is a weird thing. This doesn't make any damn sense. This is a false flag. This is a whatever. I don't have the answers. I just know, isn't that weird? Go look at it your fucking self, Like
Yeah.
I'm trying to warn you, but if I can't, I'm not gonna like what you're saying. I'm not gonna waste my time to stand up with a megaphone and start screaming at everybody that the lizard people and the fucking whatever's coming. It's like
Right.
if they are, they are, and if most people just want to blindly follow the masses and not wake up to anything, it's like I wish they do wake up in their own journey on their own, but maybe it's not our job to wake everybody up.
I found an interesting method to waking people up without it being you. And so that was the format of my first book, The Octopus of Global Control. It has 700 quotes from 500 different people who
Mhm.
had a front row seat to some of the world's most important events. So you get the Rockefellers and the Kissingers and the Clintons and Obama, those quotes from those people, which you would expect. I've got some from the comedians, Bill Hicks and George Carlin and Joe Rogan, who see things from a different angle. But man, it's nothing like, you know, the people who want to call you a conspiracy theorist and things like that. I, whenever possible, I tried to take myself out of it. Say, this isn't me saying, I'm not saying that the Rockefellers are internationalists looking for world government. I want you to just read this quote.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's 3 paragraphs. I want you to read this quote, and it's like, my family and I have been accused. I don't know why I gave him an English accent because he's a Rockefeller, but I gave him one anyway. But it's like, we've been accused of being internationalists, that we are scheming to create a world government and that we are part of an international cabal. Well, if these are the charges, I stand guilty and proud of it. David Rockefeller, page 405, it's autobiography. And you're like, so that's when I was saying to people, don't listen to me. I'm not the one saying it. Read their words. Read their words.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that Henry Kissinger is trying to depopulate the third world in these 13 countries in particular. Read the National Security Council Memorandum 200 that came out on December 10th, 1974, that identified 13 countries by name, that has Henry Kissinger's signature and name at the bottom, that's declassified now. He never thought you would read it. So I'm not saying he's intent on depopulating. He is. Here's his words.
Know thy enemy. Yeah. Read their own words.
So this verbal judo, the using the momentum of their words against them, to say, no, you said it, dipshit. I got you on camera saying this, boom. There you are. Explain yourself, right? So a lot of times it's like, oh, you people with your thoughts. It's like, take me out of it. What do you make of David Rockefeller confessing to being an internationalist pushing for world government? He's not caught on a hot mic. He wasn't drunk at the club. He wrote it in his autobiography. You can go to Barnes and Noble and buy the book and read it for yourself with your own 2 eyeballs.
He meant what he said. Yeah.
That's what he said. So I think that sometimes people just need the information presented to them in a way that is different. And God knows I've done it all the wrong ways you can do it, like.
Well, here's a weird thought, man, on that same thing. It's like, okay, those same people that like nowadays they want to call us conspiracy theorists or they whatever, but there's no reason why you shouldn't be like conspiracy theorists should be like a badge of honor at this point, because with the internet, like Sam Tripoli says and shit, the internet got away from them and whatever, which is true because, here we are algorithmically arguing with each other and making enemies with our brothers and cousins and family and parents and neighbors, all this bullshit. Meanwhile, all these same people are pointing the finger at you, calling you a conspiracy theorist. And it's like, just go to fucking Google and read their own words. You have like those people that wrote those things, or the Rockefellers, or I want a nation of workers and not a nation of thinkers. They didn't know about the internet. Now that could be another episode. I don't know. But I'm saying they didn't have any thoughts of this like massive, it's not a paper trail. It's a literal digital footprint at this point. And so here we are to where it's like, I've kind of like, I'm not completely black pilled, but there's a little bit of black pill in me to where it's like, man, if people don't want to hear it, I'm not going to waste my time because it's one click away for you, like you're saying, to go read their own words.
It's a process. If you're feeling kind of black pilled, it's a constantly evolving thing. It doesn't mean that you're going to be black pilled forever, because I go through my phases where sometimes I'm maybe irrationally optimistic, and then other times where I feel like it could be, not necessarily black pilled, but kind of retard pilled. Where I'm just like, everybody's retarded. Like, as long as everybody's retarded, nothing's going to get done.
I've made a joke saying, literally, you're an author. My joke has been for a while, I'm going to write a book called Everybody's Retarded, except me.
I would buy that book. I mean, it's a frustrating world to be in, and it's like where the world is reimagined to cater to the lowest 20% of society. And it's just like, God, we'd have condos on the moon if it wasn't for the rest of you people, us having to like wait for you guys to all figure it out.
But it's done on purpose. Yes, they do it on purpose.
I know. And so we wind up in these, so we're fighting with each other. I think the worst place you can get to is where I kind of am right now I'm writing a book. And I've been working on this book for 3 years. I have to start and stop, and there's been some reasons why, but it's on eugenics, which is a super dark topic, right? But it's relevant these days. It's unfortunately very relevant. And when you talk about like writing a book, everybody's retarded, but me, there's times when you are reading the work of these people and you're going, oh no, I'm agreeing with them. Uh-oh. Like I shouldn't be agreeing with Lord Balfour on anything, right? Or something like
Mm-hmm.
some real obscure point, and you're like, he's got a point there. That's what there's been a couple times where I had to kind of back away from it when you go, I understand where they're coming from with eugenics, unfortunately. And now I'm not saying that I'm never saying that I actually agree with their thing, but I'm saying that I do understand where they're coming from it
Mm-hmm.
with it, where they're going from uncolonized fourth world shithole to another, bringing all of this knowledge, and they're encountering people that are from the Bronze Age, essentially, and they have no
Yeah.
respect for them at all. And so I understand. I don't respect, I don't think they should have this mentality, but I understand why they tally-hoed
The
with the little
disconnect of it
finger
all. Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
enslaved a lot of these people. And what I found that was also really fascinating, I didn't really expect this, is that, the in my mind, when one group of people are enslaving another group of people, it's one government taking over another government. But what I found with the British East India Company and
Oh, yeah.
in India itself, was that it was essentially like, if you think of Amazon times a million plus Blackwater,
Mm-hmm.
that's what plus the trafficking and the slavery business that they were into. They were so powerful that literally the company overthrew India.
Well, and I mean, that gets into
Like,
so many like rabbit holes of, the question of who owned the boats. And we don't have to make this all about the Jays, but it can go that direction too. And then you get into the banking and stuff like you were talking about a little bit earlier, and you realize it's like Ecclesiastes, like nothing new under the sun, man. It's just the same repeated storyline every few generations because the last one has passed and we can repeat it now. So, like with slavery, it's like the irony that, everybody's like, well, slavery was bad. And I'm not, yes, it is bad. I'm not saying you should hold any human being slave ever whatsoever. That's pretty fucked up. But the idea that you're like, you can go tweet slavery was evil and white people were evil on your iPhone that was made by current slavery that you don't see as we're, mining lithium mines and shit like that. You're like the disconnect of people, kind of like what you're saying. These people that are looking at different worlds and shit, sometimes whether they recognize it or don't recognize it, you're like, you guys, I don't know. It's like, well, this is how we are. It's this mind games of everything.
yeah, I've had to I really had to unlearn a lot of what I was taught in school,
Mm-hmm.
especially when it comes to history and how things are done. And I realized that, the most powerful families, the most powerful companies, the British East India Company, Dutch East India Company, the ones that are
Mm-hmm.
around for hundreds of years, they're like, they must have been really good at moving textiles from India. It's like, well, it wasn't the only thing they were moving out of India.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
like they were heavily involved in drugs. They
Yep.
were heavily involved in human trafficking. They were, slave traders and opium traders and starting wars over all this stuff. And you go, okay, so in my mind, it's all the pilgrims in the Mayflower, right? And they just set it across the sea, and they're just on an exploratory mission to spread goodness and have picnics with the Indians, right? That's the history that we're taught. And what you find is that the barbarism of the American empire is nothing new. Maybe the
Mm-hmm.
technology is, but the idea of being shitty to other countries because you can, and enslaving other people and pulling dirty tricks and removing leaders and installing new ones, not new.
The
It's
way
been
they
around.
look at it is if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It still works. So I'm not defending it. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
like, you
But
know,
now we get the pleasure, I suppose, of living through the new version of that as it transfers into this weird technocratic
Mm-hmm.
overlordship
It's
that
an
we're walking
enslavement without
into.
even knowing it, dude. We're in this enslavement. We're right already in it. Like we're talking about on Triple H show last time you were on, what, a month and a half ago or so, somewhere around there,
Mhm.
or when he released it. But you were talking about, like, us not even realizing that we're already in World War III, and like the
Yeah,
mentalness of like I was kind of alluding to earlier, your algorithms and shit like that, they make you sit there and, oh, there's all the jokes about go to Christmas dinner and argue with your liberal aunts or your whatever liberal
right.
trainee brother-in-law or whatever, blue-haired dumb shit with a septum ring. I get it, right? But at the same time, it's like, as we joke about that, the fact that, like, the separation of everything is like we're all seeing different worlds, and they're doing that on purpose to make us all feel like we're all segregated and separated from each other anyways. but
Yeah.
but yeah, dude, like, tell us a little bit, like, why you think we're already kind of in the first steps of World War III, because
Uh,
I
I,
agree with what you said.
it just was one of those kind of light bulb moments where it occurred to me that maybe that every world war or every big major war that we're in has its own sort of I don't know. Uh,
Vibe. They have their own
yeah, its own
vibe.
vibe.
Yeah.
Its own vibe. World War One, it was the trench warfare. It was mustard gas. It was all of
Biplanes.
that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then World War Two, you've got when you think of the European theater, you think of the beaches of Normandy, and you think of the Nazis marching and all of that, and the Japanese ships and everything. And you go, okay, so World War Three is going to be like super modern aircraft carriers and heavy duty tanks, or maybe like, I don't know, maybe even now it's just going to be all drones, right? It's all going to be
Mm-hmm.
drones. And that would actually be a pretty logical step to make. And I think maybe on the battlefield, it will be mostly drones, I think, moving forward. And it will kind of look like Terminator, the dystopian,
Dude, I know.
our
Walk
robots
around.
versus
Yeah.
their robots, things like that. But I thought about Yuri Bezmenov. I think
Mm-hmm.
about him a lot because he's in his his discussions about demoralization, and he talking about once a person, well, talks about the 4-step process for demoralization. And on step 3, you have to introduce a crisis, a 6-week crisis. It's got to be at least 6 weeks, could be longer. Of course, it's
COVID. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. That's exactly where we go. And then the fourth step after that is normalization. We've always had COVID. We've
Uh-huh.
always been at war with Eurasia. It's just the normalization of this. And he said, um, in his world, in the Czech Republic, the Soviets rolled tanks into the Czech Republic and put tanks on every corner until the process was normalized. And then they pulled them out. And and there aren't going to be tanks on every corner. There can't be in this
No.
war. The tanks on every corner are in your mind, and the battlefield is in everybody's mind. And that's why I started thinking that World War III has already started. It's just that we were looking for something else. We were looking for something different. We were looking for a physical place where this
Mm-hmm.
war was happening, and it's a psychological operation warfare. We have Mossad on camera with Leslie Stahl in 60 Minutes talking about how they are a global production company that create reality. We have the U.S. Army's 4th PSYOP Division talking about ghosts, and putting a video out, Ghosts in the Machine, saying we're everywhere. They're openly talking about the psychological operations that they're putting us through, that maybe the reality that you see is real, maybe it's not. We've seen Joe Biden. We've seen multiple versions of Joe Biden,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
we
With the
have.
new AI rollouts and everything, it's like the irony of, people will be like, "Oh, Derek, you shit on Trump. What are you, a Democrat?" I'm like, if you go watch my damn timeline of the past, I don't know, 15 years, every president that comes in, I don't care if you're R's or D's, you're all retarded to me. Like, I don't care what you are. Like, I have the same track record of Biden. I made a million memes of Biden and Obama and Trump for first times. My point is the DOJ, what was it, last week or maybe a week and a half ago tops, but last week, I believe, put out a video of Jeffrey Epstein on his first suicide attempt. The very next day, they had to admit that it was an AI fake video. And you're like, this is the age we are living in now, to where, of course, they're going to dump all this Epstein shit or whatever because they can just fucking fake all of it now and you'll never know any different.
Yep. Flood the zone, make you throw your hands up and say, I can't. Obama talked about that. Flood the zone with information. Get them to a point where they don't know what to believe.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and that is, again, not trying to give them any ideas, but that is a really good strategy for confusing people. I mean, you just fill their heads with nonsense, and then somebody goes, just tell me what to believe. Just tell me.
Well, let me ask you this,
like.
dude. So, like, that's a great point. Like, just flood it with ideas. What do you think about this splintering and factioning in like I guess the Republican side of things between we not necessarily like Charlie Kirk's death, but like since the changing of Erica taking over, CEO of Turning Point, and then Tucker, Candace, Megyn Kelly, Ben Shapiro, Tim Pool, all these motherfuckers are the Spider-Man meme right now I mean, a few of them are kind of on the same side, but they're all like, you're a Fed, you're all this, Nick Fuentes' rise, everything like right now, but it's like they're flooding it with so much shit and they're just trying to take whatever party has like a bit of a regular understanding and take them into 50 different directions. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, Trump has nobody to blame but himself.
Yes,
for this, because his undying allegiance to Israel is disgusting and obvious, and it sends them, pulling the chair out for Netanyahu. It sends a whole message, and his relationship with Miriam Adelson, and it's gross and disgusting, and we see what's going on in the Trump Gaza, bad judgment on him. Trump is, putting out the Netanyahu Trump Gaza, laying out on the pool chairs, and it's all been redeveloped like the new Mediterranean Riviera. I mean, totally disgusting and tone deaf. And I think that there's, I think if you, we're obviously coming from the same place. We're not on the red team and we're not on the blue team. We can see their flaws. They're different. They both have flaws, but they're different, but they fall for the same stuff. They still love their person no matter what, and they're unwilling or unable to see the pretty obvious flaws. And which is, I've always thought does them a disservice. They should say, I like Trump. I've always liked Trump. I voted for him 3 times, but I don't like his stance on Israel.
Yeah.
I'd be willing to accept that. And that's somebody that's like, I feel a little bit like I was sold a bill of goods that I'm not getting.
You own your mistake, basically. You still,
yeah. And it's not even, but here,
not necessarily a mistake, but you know what I'm saying. You can recognize it. Yeah.
It's recognizing that your guy isn't perfect goes a long way. It would go a long way if I ever saw any of it, which is getting harder and harder to find. But but there is that segment. I think that's the splintering where the people go. There's the segment that go, what happened to make America great again, man? What happened to that? What happened to why is it that on day 2 you've got Sam Altman and Larry Ellison and you're going to give away $500 billion to these 2 lunatics, Zionists that want to have artificial intelligence run the government? That's your priority. So I think the thing is that, like, I understand why there's a splintering. I actually don't understand why anybody is supporting Trump now with his, I guess the pro-Israel people are. That's it. But that seems to be the line that's really broken a big chunk of people off. Like, hey, we like maybe even we don't really care one way or the other about Israel, but you said you were going to make America the priority. And not only are you not doing that, you're making Israel the priority, and you're making us feel like assholes for asking for it. You know what I mean?
Exactly. It went from
Like,
MAGA to what's up, nigga? Make Israel great
yeah.
again.
Like, hey, don't make me feel like a jerk for asking you about the Epstein files. You're the one that said you were the one that was talking about
Uh-huh.
all this during your campaign. And then then it comes out and you say, "Oh, I'm not going to release it." And then we say, "Hey, what's with the not releasing the files?" And you call us retards for asking for
Yes,
that.
it's a hoax.
And then you act surprised why those people hate your guts after that.
And then,
I
dude, you see,
mean,
like, oh my God. So there's a couple tiny things that just made me think of with that. So first of all, back to the Israel allegiance thing alone before I make to the second point of Epstein. First one is, conspiracy red pill daddy for a lot of people, Alex Jones. Did you see his recent thing with Laura Loomer, where Alex Jones basically came out against Candace, and then Laura Loomer retweeted his tweet and said that basically I had a long and productive phone call with Alex Jones and blah 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 blah, and made him see the error of his. You're like, well, Alex Jones got the call. There goes that shit. And then, and then he actually really turned a blind eye a lot on the Trump Israel shit since, he came in office. But then on part two, on the Epstein, so with all this Bill Clinton stuff coming out, and of course the Republicans are going to hold back whatever evidence they've got while they've got power, right? It's a football game. I've got the ball, I've got the power. So they're dumping Bill Clinton under the bus, right? And then so Bill Clinton goes, I think it was Jimmy Fallon, like a week or so ago or a couple days ago, goes on there and says that basically the Republicans are hiding a bunch of shit, paraphrasing. Then the very next day, Hillary Clinton was asked in an interview, and she said that this is basically a Bill issue, and Bill is going to have to stand on this issue on his own. And you're like, oh, wow. So Hillary's killed plenty of people before. Now she's killing her husband's career right now. Like, so it's funny that Trump went to bat saying that, like, right after that also was defending Bill Clinton, saying that all the Democrats are trying to throw all this bullshit out there, and not even Bill Clinton, half of it's not even real. And you're like, so tell me you're not in the club, and you know what I mean? It's the George Carlin quote, it's a big club, you ain't in it.
yeah,
They're
yeah,
all
yeah.
partying, man.
I know. I mean, they're all at each other's kids' weddings and things like that. I mean,
Uh-huh.
I'm not um it, and a reminder that Trump is in the WWE Hall of Fame.
Yes, dude, the Battle of
You
the
know.
Billionaires. I'm an old school
Yeah.
wrestling fan, and my son loves modern wrestling, so it's not as good as back then. But continue. Yeah, he's in the Hall of Fame. And
But just
Linda
a reminder
McMahon.
that, he knows how he's very good.
Linda McMahon is in freaking, Secretary of Education or whatever it is. And then,
Perfect, isn't it?
speaking of WWE, Kane, which is Glenn Jacobs, he's like governor of, not governor,
He's
whatever he
mayor of
is.
Knoxville.
Yeah, Knoxville. Yeah, exactly. You're like, dude, and we had Jesse Ventura was, at one point he was an elected official. Like, so yeah, the blending
Yep.
of reality and entertainment is getting really obvious
John
now.
Cena is going to be the president of the United States at some point. You
Or
watch.
The
He
Rock.
might, or he
They've
might
been
be the,
calling for The Rock for a decade.
yeah. Oh, could
We
you
don't need
imagine?
that, but the people are dumb, so it's
No,
gonna be
but
idiocracy.
it's either that or President Mountain Dew Camacho. I mean, at some point we're going to get there.
At least he still
Uh,
had machine guns. They were cool.
that's
They
true.
didn't completely outlaw guns, I guess. Yeah. Maybe they
No.
did. Dude,
Oh my
Idiocracy, what a great
God.
movie. Of like the first time I saw it, I was like, this is retarded. And then it's just any Mike Judge movie is always like that. Office Space is one of my favorites. It's like, the first time you watch it, you're like, what is this? Doesn't make sense. Second time, you're like, ooh, I get this. And then Idiocracy, as we get closer and closer, every time you watch it, you're like, shit, this is a documentary now.
I can't drive by Costco and not think about that movie. So I just I I sort of there's part of me that as a writer I sort of have an embarrassment of riches when it
Hmm.
comes to like source material to write about and think, it's because there's so much crazy shit going on out there. It's probably best I've been working on, as I mentioned, I've been working on a book, but I haven't been writing articles or anything like that. But I do now own Activist Post, and doing that as the editor there, I get to read other people's articles. So I'm reading about all the insanity that's going on. I'm not writing about it, but I'm just reading about theirs and then going, oh yeah, this needs to go in. Tuesday. This needs to go on Wednesday night.
Hmm.
This needs to go on, so sort of curating or DJing the article information stream that's coming my way. Um, but it's hard to not laugh at how absurd things have got. I mean, I don't know whether to laugh or to cry. I think 2026 is going to be wild.
Like Sam calls it, conspiracy Christmas, man. It's like, it's like that's what's fun about kind of having a shit talking podcast, a conspiracy in the world. We're the band members. I'm a musician, but it's like we're the band members
Yeah.
on the Titanic that's sinking, and we're like, we know it's going down, but
Oh,
fuck it, I'm just gonna keep playing the saxophone, dude.
I was my wife had Titanic on last night, and
Oh,
I was like,
nice.
I was watching it, and it was at the part where it was sinking, and the musicians were there playing, and they're like, "Good day, old chap. Good day," and like shaking each other's hands and everything. I was watching that. I was going, "Oh, like it's such a perfect metaphor."
It really is.
It really kind of is. I mean, you obviously it's a film, it's not real, but there might have been, or the idea that like the concept of playing music on the Titanic as it sinks, and like conceptually, fucking brilliant,
Right, yeah, it is. I mean, it's just that
amazing
we're the
as an
frog in the
idea.
boiling pot, but at least they recognize that we're screwed, instead of that, like, hey
Yeah.
man, this is a cool feeling jacuzzi right now. A couple more degrees, we're frog legs, and
Well, I don't love that I'm gonna die, but I do love music. Well, let's play some music while we before right before we die. Okay, good. I mean, we have nothing else to do. We're all gonna die here.
right, it's
They
like
have that
what's that
recognition on the boat, and
almost
it's like,
famous right before the plane crashes, they all start just spilling their guts on all their lies and all their hidden shit. It's like,
yeah,
well, what
exactly.
else we gonna do? Dude, but
Yeah,
Charlie, this was really awesome, man. I want to have you back on again sometime.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
dude, send me all your links so that way make sure
I
I've
will.
got everything for Activist Post. I've got most of your links, but either way, we
Cool.
can chat offline. But I was just gonna say, like, man, this was really cool, and I like the way you think. Like, too many people they stay in this like binary left and right, or gay and straight, or black versus white, or blah blah, and that's what they want you to do. Like, they're popping off like every week you see a new video of a black guy murdering a white girl or a white person or three black people attack, and you're like, okay, this is the next psyop. Do you not
Yeah.
realize it? Like,
My
you
feed
know,
is a mess right now with
exactly.
all of that.
Or the same thing is like, in a tiny way, props to Megan Kelly. She just chewed out Ben Shapiro like within the last day or two by saying like people like you that are screaming about anti-Semitism are the one making more anti-Semites. Like the fact that you're flooding all of these crazy things to everybody, you're pushing people to extremes. And like I said, we all have a hint of a black pill in us. We got to push that shit back. We're dudes. Suck it up. Man up. Deal with life. But dude, Charlie, either way, I'm just saying people need to wake up and realize it's all fake and gay. The world is manufactured and your algorithms are lying to you, and it's
Yeah.
just, turn your fucking TV off, take your shoes off, walk outside, touch some grass and have a little fun in life.
Yeah, the majority of the things that you see on your television or on your phone or your computer or whatever, they're never going to impact you.
Yeah,
For the most part, they really aren't. It's just going to be you're going to have this view of the outside, big bad outside world, but most of the things never even going to impact your day to day life much at all.
exactly,
So don't
man.
stress over it. Enjoy
Don't
your
f-
time.
don't freak out about Somalia or Taiwan or whatever else. Worry about,
No.
dealing with your own family and what's within your household, man. At the end of the day, trust your gut.
Stuff that's within your control,
Yep.
because a lot of this is outside of our control, and you start to feel very helpless, and because you can't fix it, and it's
Yep.
like, yeah, you can't fix it. It's out of your control. Control what you can control, like be prepared, take advantage of the time right now, right, to get yourself in order,
Hmm.
get your money out of the bank, and get some storable food, and get some gold and silver and all whatever you
Some
need to do to set
ammo
your
and some, yeah, yeah,
some
yeah.
ammo, and yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
just get yourself kind of in that mindset, and take advantage of the relative downtime, and you know
Yeah.
the sane time now, because if it goes to a weird place, you'll wish that you were doing that. So, but
Even
don't
just
freak
on
your
the
family out, do
Yeah,
it.
even on the micro scale, it's like a musician that worries about breaking a guitar string on stage while you have a gig or whatever. It's like prepare for the worst, and hope for the best. It's just the best way to deal with it. You don't want to get caught with your pants down and
Got
then
it.
just oblivious and unaware. And that just goes for the macro side of things, macroaggressions to
Yes.
life. It's like take the little things, make them understandable, and then you can apply a lot of those little just gut feeling instincts and look at situations in the world and go, first of all, that's wrong, that's fake, that's bought, that's this, that's that. But either way, it's like, well, does it affect you or not? If you're pounding whiskey and beating your kids and then screaming about the lizard people, you're not really helping anybody. You need to help yourself first and, go from there. But dude, Charlie, remind everybody where they can find you. And
Yep.
like I said, let's do this again sometime, man.
Absolutely. Macroaggressions.io is my website. You can find my podcast wherever podcasts are available. Union of the Unwanted. We do that group show twice a month. That's been fun for the last 5 years. And Day Zero, do that every Sunday. That's a show that'll get me in trouble. Kicked off the internet, possibly. Comedy show, comedy.
Right, wink, wink.
Yeah, we just call it comedy.
Just make sure you say on Minecraft, wink, wink, afterward of everything. It's like maybe
Yep.
nice somebody took out that world leader. I mean, on Minecraft. I mean,
On Minecraft. Yeah. So we have a lot of fun over there doing that. And of course, Activist Post and naturalblaze.com. If you're interested in getting your daily news over there with Activist Post and your alternative health Natural Blaze as well. So thanks for having me on. Yeah, let's do it again.
yeah, dude. Well, hope you have. Jesus, I always screw up my words at the end. So hope you have a happy and healthy and fun new year, dude. And Stitt-Heads, thank you guys, man. We're 2.5 years in. Last episode of the year. This one's a fun one, man. I'm really glad to have Charlie on. This is cool as shit. Long time listener, first time guest. So fuck yeah. But either way, guys, yeah, dude. Hope you all had a great year, 2025. Like I just said a second ago, hope for the worst, expect the whatever. Hope for the best, expect the worst, I guess. And the world is crazy, so just kind of equal its crazy out and trust your gut. And we'll see you next year, guys. Peace out, Stitt-Heads. Bye-bye. Oh, did that stop?